Hi everyone, so I thought I would give this little DIY house kit, mini doll's house kit a go. This was one I just ordered online, paid for with my own money. I don't get any sponsors or anything like that. Anything I buy is paid for with my own money. So I like doing these, and the reason I like doing these little kits, and this is the one I've got, it's a little holiday home one. For me, these are kind of like doing jigsaws, in the fact that I get to create something, but I don't really have to plan it. I can just follow some instructions that are already laid out for me, have a nice relax, and it's just something that I sometimes like to do the weekend. I'll sit in the warm with the fire on and sit at my desk and go through a little kit like this. Sorry if you can hear drilling, next door is having some building work done. And yeah, I like these because everything's there and you've just got to put it together like a big jigsaw. So I started off by cutting the printables up. The printables provides you with some items to go inside the house. The wallpaper, I would have preferred it if it wasn't shiny, like glossy, like this paper. I prefer more of a matte for wallpaper, but it doesn't matter. And what I tend to do for these models as well is I'll make it and then I'll get some sort of cheaper, smaller models and then I'll repaint them and do what I want to those, give them a spooky makeover. So I've got two more that I've made that go in frames. They're going to get like a spooky makeover though. This one, I'm going to keep it as it is because I'm going to use this as a Christmas decoration. I know it's not Christmas, but I felt like making something cute, so I bought this one, which is like a little Christmas scene. I think it's because I miss winter, because I'm not a massive fan of summer. I like it, but I have a lot more problems with allergies and things in the summer, so I prefer winter because I have no allergy problems and stuff in the winter. But yeah, anyway, so I wanted to make something cute and found this little Christmassy house scene. So as you can see in the bags, you have all the individual pieces, and like the furniture is basically like tiny flat pack. I'm sorry, I got a tickle. Yes, so the furniture is basically like tiny flat pack. So all the little pieces are cut out for you, and it's a case of just gluing everything together. And it's the same with the building. The building comes in sections, and so it's, for this one, it's 3 walls and the piece for the roof. And all you do is you select the right part and stick on the wallpaper. The only thing I did change with this kit is I changed the battery pack that powers everything, because I've got a spare one from another model kit, because this one required button cell batteries, which are not something I'd normally keep around the house. And I wanted to do the lighting and everything. So what I'll do eventually is when I can get batteries, I'll probably swap it back out. But or in fact, no, I'll use that in the other kit. So that's why there's like a circle cut out on the wall there, because that's where the little circular pack would go with the batteries in, and it's like a little switch. But instead, I've got a surface mounted battery pack on the back, which I don't mind. No one's going to see it. What I'm going to do eventually with some of the kits I've got as well is I'm going to, I want to make a book nook where it's like a little scene of like a little cozy room with books and stuff, like someone's little cozy study, chill out reading area. And I'm going to use some elements from these model kits I've got in there. So I might pinch furniture from this one or one of the other ones and combine it with the frame and stuff I make. But that's for a future project. I'm not going to worry about that now. And then, as you can see here, what I'm doing now is I'm cutting out the wallpaper for the bit with the windows. The only thing I would say about this kit is the curtains. To put the curtains together, they're an absolute nightmare. You have to poke holes in fabric that frays. So I got quite cross with the curtains. So you'll see towards the end, for the last window, I just made a blind. out of some different fabric. And I will probably change the curtains on the two windows. The curtains drove me soft, but the rest of it was nice and easy to put together. I don't like where it's like super fiddly and annoying like the curtains, so what I would probably do next time is either get a different material so it's not going to fray every time I poke a hole in it to put the wire through, which would have been better, or just turn them into blinds. So there you just glue them up, and I do them like little, what's the blinds called? The ones where it's like a fabric blind and then it folds up in little folds. I can't remember what it's called. Basically, I'll make mini versions of those instead, and it works a lot better. Like the ones I did for when I made my mini art studio from all scraps, the same technique. So as you can see here, what they've done is when they've done the printable, they've printed some other things that I need in the spaces to save paper, which I thought was a good idea. The only thing this kit didn't come with was obviously the batteries and the glue, and that tends to be because of obviously problems with importing stuff like that. You can't import like batteries and the glue, they have trouble with that, so you tend to find kits like this won't have those in, although I have bought some in the past that had the glue in, but this one didn't, which is fine. So I find to stick the paper onto the board, like the wallpaper and the flooring, I just used a glue stick, and it holds it in place quite well, and then everything else I glued with hot glue. Obviously hot glue is a bit overkill, but I like hot glue because it sets quick, and I can't abide using PVA glue because it takes forever to dry and I just get messy with it, so I just like to pick stuff that dries quite quick. I did like the glue that came with another kit, but I can't get any anywhere. I don't know what it's called. So as you can see, once you've put the coverings on, then it's a case of placing the walls in the right place and gluing them together. And because the wood's fairly light, they do glue together very easily with the hot glue. All I find is sometimes if the wood's ever so slightly warped, because it's only thin, like balsa wood stuff, or actually no, it's a bit harder than balsa wood, I think, for these. I can't remember what it's made out of, but it's a thin wood anyway. And sometimes they do come a little bit warped, so you might have to just fill in any gaps with a bit of filler or something. This is the part where I made the lights, and there is full instructions. This is the battery pack replacement that I got from another kit. And here what I'm doing is I'm just checking the LEDs work before I wire them in. This chandelier was like a little set of shapes that had to all be glued together to make the chandelier shape, and then you thread the LED through the middle. I quite like doing the lighting on these. I like it when you've got like an evening, and then you put the lights on in the little models, and it lights up and shows these like little sort of miniature worlds that I've created by doing these little model kits. And I've found there's 3 things to wire in this. There's the chandelier, a lamp, and the Christmas tree. And it's just a case of running the wires. I think the only thing I would change if I was going to sort of do a review of this kit was the wires could have done with just being a little teeny bit longer, because it was a bit of a squeeze getting some of the wires in place. But again, I changed the battery pack, so I had to put the battery pack in a different place, so that's probably why. But even so, it didn't give a lot of excess wire to work with, but never mind. Then what I'm doing here, luckily these kits come with the LEDs already fixed on, but what I like to do is put a little bit of extra hot glue on just to make sure there's no contact between the two, the positive and negative, just to make sure that they are completely isolated from each other before squeezing them through any chandelier or anything. This one I'm making a little lamp to go on the table, and it's pretty much at this point I stopped following the instructions and just made it myself. The lamp it's like a sort of candlestick thing in the original set, requires bending tiny little fiddly bits of wire to stick on the side to look like handles and stuff like that. When I have these miniature kits, if I've got anything where I've got to bend really flimsy tiny bits of wire to make like handles and stuff, I don't tend to bother. I tend to just make it my own way. So here what I'm doing is wrapping some of this gold coloured I'm just checking the LED still works. I like to check at every stage the LED is still working, because there's nothing worse than putting it together and then the LED is not working at the end. So what I'm doing here basically is making my own thing. So I've got this little bead thing that I've stuck on, which makes this like sort of little bowl. And then I'm going to stick on, what did I stick on next? I think it was another couple of beads. Oh no, I stuck on a bit more of this. This is where I was following the instructions, sorry. And then this bit annoyed me, so I took it off and made my own thing. Because it came with some extra beads, more than I needed anyway, unless that's because I just gave following the instructions. So this is where I was going to stick some beads on at the bottom, but the paper was like too wrinkly and weird, and I had problems sticking some of the beads onto the wires. Yeah, so see, this is where I decided it looked really naff. And then I just took that paper off. And what I did instead, to make the stick of the light, I just used 3 beads that I threaded onto the wires instead. And that makes a nice sort of shaped stand for the light without too much fiddling about with paper. I just used the slightly bigger beads. They're the ones with a slightly larger hole in them, so I could thread the 2 wires through. Because the wires you have to be careful with, because they are only thin wires. And I like how you can put little bunches of beads and things like this together to make a miniature lamp. It just fascinates me how it works. So you can see I've put a couple of beads on, and then I've put this other piece on as the base. And then that threads through onto the table, so that's going to be like a little lamp on the table, like so. And there is like a circular plastic dome thing to fit onto the top of the LED afterwards to make it look more like a lamp instead of just a random weird candle thing. It's a bit fiddly, it just takes a little bit more glue, so it's just a case of dabbing a little bit of glue to glue the beads together, and then making sure it's well glued to the table. And it works quite well like so. And then it's a case of poking a hole in the floor and popping the wires through, and then joining the wires onto all the other stuff. I would say if you can get like the proper glue to use with the kits, it's better, because it does stick pretty instantly, and you don't get lots of little wispy bits off the hot glue like you do with the hot glue. And as you can see here, I've already made some of the furniture. I didn't bother filming making the furniture, because sometimes that takes me a while. And the settee was a bit fiddly because I've got to upholster it. I will try and do like a sort of more of a tutorial and stuff, but I haven't sort of mastered the technique yet where I don't have to patch stuff up. I always have to patch something up because I haven't quite cut it right or folded it right. But if I get the hang of that eventually, I'll show you on videos how to make all the stuff. But like I said, the furniture's all basically flat pack anyway, and it's just a case of gluing all the bits together. And as you can see, there's like channels at the bottom to thread all the wires through. And there's a hole that I've just got to poke through the paper that I stuck on the cover that I used to cover up the base to make the flooring. It's just a case of popping a hole through there and popping the wires through. And then what I do is I use some hot glue, just a little bit, to hold the wires in place at the base, so just so the house sits nice and flat on the table. And once you've made like the furniture and the lighting, you've pretty much got the basics of the building done. And then from then on, I just tend to do what I want. So I made some of the books and some of the presents and the turkey dinner and some like little candlesticks and things and little trinkets. But I didn't make everything that goes inside. For some stuff, I just made my own thing. So there's the basic layout of the building. And then it's just a case of gluing the roof on. I did ever so slightly misplace the roof and had to pop it off. But like I've said in previous builds, the advantage with hot glue is I could pop the roof off and readjust it. it's just a case of peeling the glue off. It's fine. It's not too much of a hassle. And then anything that's loose, I just put a bit of extra glue and to hold it in place. My favourite part was decorating the teeny weeny Christmas tree. That was my favourite bit, because I love Christmas trees anyway. But to decorate this little teeny weeny one and make it light up and everything, that was my favourite part of the model. I'd like to see if I could get another sort of miniature kit that's got maybe like a sort of winter scene with some more Christmas trees and things in. So as you can see, it came with some micro LEDs, just a very small string of about 4 or 5 of them. And I'm just wrapping that around the tree, just to try and get them in a nice position so there's light spread around the tree. I didn't want the LEDs to all be in one position and just make it so only one bit of the tree lit up. And then what you'll see me do in a bit, once I've placed this through the bead that I'm going to use as the base, you'll see me test the lighting to work out the best position for the tree, where the front of the tree is going to be, all depending on how it looks lit up. And I like this, it's like a teeny weeny little flocked tree as well, so it's got some fake snow already on it, which was quite nice. Just made it look cute and wintry. I think the only thing I would add to this model is I'd put some fake snow on the deck. I have got some, I've just got to dig it out of my box of goodies. And then I'll add some fake snow on the outside and maybe a little bit on the roof, but I haven't done that part yet. This video is just the main construction, pretty much following the kit, or just, you know, as close to as I want. So here I'm just deciding where the front of the tree is. So I figured it looks nice in that position, and then you have to thread through the wires, and then the base of the tree sticks out past the bead, and then that goes through the base to hold it in position. And I'm just checking it's in the right place again. There we go, just giving it a turn. I just wanted it to be from the most lit angle to make it look like it's evenly lit up. So I like that position. And then it's just a case of making sure you pull the base through and giving it a blob of glue to hold it in position. And then run the wires through the groove at the bottom and out through the back so I can wire it onto the rest of the stuff. Unfortunately for the one wire, I did knock the very end off, because what they do is they snip the cover on the wire, but they leave it on because the wires are so fine. Trying to thread them through stuff is fiddly. That's why I'm having trouble with this bit, because the ends come off. It's doable, it's just more fiddly. And then as you can see here, I've threaded all those wires through the back. But that one wire is very short, so it was quite fiddly to wire it all together. And then for the light, I was going to do it differently and wrap it around the frame to hold it in place on the window. But I did figure out how it's supposed to go, where it threads through the back, because I was going to glue it on the outside and go down, but then I realised that there is a hole at the back for the wire to come through. So what I need to do is glue it on the underside of the ceiling once I've poked the hole through the wallpaper. So that's why I wrapped it around but then took it off. And then unfortunately that broke a piece off the back of the chandelier. But because you couldn't tell when it was stuck in place, I just left that piece off because it was making it hang weird anyway. I do find the chandelier things quite fiddly because you need just a tiny touch of glue to hold it together. Otherwise it just looks like a massive blob of glue. But at the same time it wasn't quite enough glue to hold it together. I could have done with getting some super glue maybe for that bit. So I would recommend like proper modelling glue or super glue for stuff, fiddly stuff like that. And then it's just a case of twisting all the grey wires together, twisting all the white wires together, and then twisting them onto the battery pack. And then, hey presto, everything lights up in the house. If you're not sure about sort of wiring and stuff like that, don't worry. They always have the instructions in these kits. And it's, you know, I mean, I'm clueless when it comes to stuff like that. So I just follow the instructions that's in the book and it works really well. And the advantage now as well is I'm finding with the kits now They used to have it where the LEDs were separate, and then you've got to wrap the wires around the LED's arm, then put heat shrink on and heat shrink it in place. Whereas now the kits are coming with the LEDs already soldered onto the wires, so it's way better. So at least that saves a job. And then the only other fiddly bit is twisting the wires together, because they're so thin. It's like a little bunch of hairs almost. They're so thin and so fine. But it's just a case of twisting everything and then removing that little bit of sheath that's on the outside, just so you can twist those last couple of bits together. It is fiddly, but a bit of perseverance does it. And then they do provide like it's a bit of like a sticky tape, like it's basically a sticker that you cut into strips that you can wrap around it. But what I like to do for these wires that I've twisted together, I like to make sure that they're not going to budge. So what I tend to do is I will cover them completely in hot glue, so it makes basically like a cap over the end of the wires, and then I wrap around the self-adhesive sticker thing that they provide. I just feel it's a more secure connection, because if you've just got the stickers, sometimes one of the wires can come out. Whereas by using hot glue, it makes sure they're not going to go anywhere. And then the replacement battery pack. I mean, no one's going to look at the back of the house. So the replacement battery pack, I just glue to the back of the house. And then I use some of the tape that comes with the kit to just stick the wires to the back of the box, the back of the house, just to make it so they're not going to move. So here I'm making sure that that's completely covered. I would have preferred if they'd have provided heat shrink like they used to. They don't seem to provide heat shrink a lot now. So I could do with getting me some. But hot glue will do the job. It will cover it all up. You have to mind my head. I'm just blowing to make the glue cool down quicker. And then I'll put some of the tape over the top. Just want to make sure we don't get any shorts or anything like that. I want to make sure it's well isolated from the other side. And also to make sure none of the wires are going to come out. So I find this method works better than just using the tape stuff. And it just makes sure they're nice and secure. Like so. And that way, there's no way that when it's put on a shelf that they're going to like bump into each other or anything. For the battery pack, when I stick that in place, I do only use the tiniest bit of hot glue, so it is possible to remove it. Because obviously on the other side is where the cover is that you take off for battery replacement. And as you can see, I'm using the tape they provided to stick the wires down, just to hold everything in position so it's not going to all float around on a shelf as I'm moving, if I move the house or anything. And then I just glued those two bits of wire in place there just to keep it neat. Probably would have been neater if I'd have used the proper battery pack, but whatever. So there you go. As you can see, it all lights up. Just checking everything works. Just make sure, like, mine's not a super hot. It's not one of the cool heat guns, but I do this sort of stuff before it gets really hot, just so I don't risk melting any wires or anything. And then my favourite bit was decorating the tree. I love decorating a Christmas tree and just making it look all pretty and sparkly. And there were some nice little bits that came with this to make the decorations. So there was these little beads, these little golden beads that I could wrap around. So I just put glue on one end and then wrapped it around. And then when I got to the end, I put a bit of glue on and just snipped off the excess. So this was nice. And you'll see I just glue the end once I've decided where the end's going to be. And then just chop off the excess beading. With some bits, it's just a case of holding them a second just to make sure they glue in place. And then it came with the most adorable little star-shaped golden bead, which was so cute and so small but so fiddly to stick on as well, to go on the top of the tree. I thought this was like a little adorable touch. It was just very fiddly. And I did get glue over the star on my finger. But it's just a case of scraping the hot glue back off before it really sets and it comes off. So I thought that was so cute. And then there was some like little golden beads, and these sort of, what would you call, I don't know what you call the colour of these, pinky golden, like a rose gold type of colour bead to stick on for the baubles. There was some tiny little mini paper Santas to look like little Santa ornaments, but I couldn't be bothered to cut those out because they were so tiny. So this is, again, I'm not following all of the guide. I'm just decorating the tree how I want it to look. I'm definitely going to have to do some more miniatures, like Christmassy themed miniatures. I did really enjoy making this. And then once I had put everything together that I wanted to out the kit, it looked like this. So the pot with the big plant in, that's my own design, and the plant at the back is my own design. Some of the things on the shelf are my own, and then the books are what came in the kit. And the cards on the string, that's my own design. I just used the cards that they provided and made a little hanging card thing. And as you can see, I made a blind at the back because I couldn't be bothered to make another curtain. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.